What, we're doing 4 bars each?
Changed when I came on.
How are you guys doing? Oh my goodness. Welcome to Podcasters Live, the afternoon show. We are pretty excited about what we're going to be talking about today. All of you who are listening to this are either a podcaster or you're thinking about podcasting. But did you know there are probably about 2.5 million podcasts that are out there. But here's the thing. We're going to talk a little bit about today that why about 75% of those podcasts aren't making it. We'll talk about that here in a second. Good afternoon. I am Steve Worthy, host of Podcasters Live. Our goal with Podcasters Live is to help podcasters understand the importance of going live so that they can grow their audience and enhance their brand. Today, right? Let me tell you what, we are going to be talking to these gentlemen. I think they were both supermodels back in their day. And we're going to talk a little bit about their book, 75% of Podcasts Fail. And we're going to kind of go through some of the thoughts around that, but we're also going to talk to them about their publishing company, talk about their book, talk about their Facebook community. They got a lot going on. They have a lot going on. You know, one of the things I kind of pride myself in is that finding like really solid, like, you know, talent and amazing, you know, dudes and gals. And I'm excited to kind of talk to these guys before they blow up. So that way, when they blow up, they will still remember me, little old Steve Worthy, here as well. So if you are thinking about joining a YouTube channel, you know, Podcasters Live channel is up and coming where we've just started it, right? So if you're looking at this on another platform, whether it's in our Facebook group or somewhere else, we ask that you go ahead and go to Podcasters Live, you know, and actually go ahead and subscribe to our channel because I'm telling you what, we have an amazing end of the year established, but more importantly, we have already kind of booked out through January and February for Podcasters Live with guests. So we are going to be hitting the ground running in 2022, and you do not want to miss any of that. We also have an amazing community. You know, when I hear about the word community, I think about just the ability to be able to connect with people who are either like-minded or actually searching for something that they can actually do, whether it's within their career or this passion that we call podcasting. And the one thing I know about the podcast community is that we embrace people, and that we take them in and we help them, and we give them actually some of the keys to success. We give them and share with them our wins and our opportunities. So our Facebook group over at Podcasters Live is all about experiencing this podcasting together with each and every one of you. You can go to Podcasters Live for our Facebook group and go ahead and join over there as well. Everything that you see here, right? All the overlays, all the tickers and all the names and all of this stuff is all brought to you by Ecamm Live, right? I've tried, I don't know how many different live streaming platforms since I actually started live streaming. And I got to tell you what, Ecamm Live has to be one of the best platforms, because it allows you to customize the experience, but more importantly, it provides you a high level of production value for every time that you go live. So everything that you see here is actually going to be constructed with Ecamm Live. We are an affiliate. If you're interested, let me know. We have a link as well. All right. 75% of podcasts fail. Woo-wee. That's a large number. Let's go in and talk to these gentlemen, right? And have them introduce themselves. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about their book and everything that we have going on. We have Taig. I got it right. Let me just make sure I got it right. No, Taig. O'Shea.
Yes.
Taig O'Shea.
Yeah,
I had
Taig.
it right. I had it right all the way up to the very beginning, Taig, man. I had
Sorry,
it right
got
all the
stage
way to the
fright right on
beginning.
pronunciation.
Had it all the way to the very beginning. And then we also have Anthony, not with the end, but the end's there, but you don't pronounce the end. Nwaneri.
There we go.
Boom.
Awesome. Perfect.
Boom.
You
Boom.
smashed it. You smashed
Making
it.
moves.
Boom, man.
Done a
Hold
better
up a
job than
second.
Taig, so.
Oh, wrong one. I gotta give myself some shout outs for a second. Hold up. So
Boy.
forgetting that right. One of the things, guys, and I should have set this up. If you drop some serious knowledge on something, right? The old school hip hop DJ in me, right? So if you drop something, and you hear this, hear that rewind sound. That means that you got to go back and say exactly whatever it is that you just said, because I don't want people to miss it. While they can go back and look at this on a replay, I think in the moment, sometimes we want to make sure we capture all of this. So, gentlemen, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we are going to start with Mr. Anthony.
Awesome. So my name's Anthony. First of all, before I even introduce myself, I want to say a big thank you for Jim for showing up. I think he's left a comment asking us actually to send me your link for the live platform, please. I'm not too sure where that comment's come through from.
Okay, hang on a
maybe
second. How do you see the comments? I cannot see the comments.
I can
So
actually.
just-
No,
yeah.
I got it. No, I got
There
it.
you
My
go.
bad.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Steve, if that's something that you want to take care of afterwards, and give them a shout out where they can find the live platform. But yeah, so my name's Anthony. I'm the co-business owner and also co-author of the books Podcasting Made Simple, Podcast Marketing, and now obviously Why 75% of Podcasts Fail. I started this venture with my very close friend Taig, and we've been doing this for nearly 2 years now. And it's been a great journey, had our ups and downs. But honestly, the podcasting community has been super encouraging. Everyone has been so kind, and it's been honestly overwhelming the amount of support that we've had along the way. And we've made some legitimate lifelong friends throughout this entire process. So we're very grateful, and I'm very thankful to actually be here to share the stage with you, Steve, and actually get to speak to you about this topic we all love and we're all so passionate about, which is podcasting. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Excellent, man. Excellent. You, what's going on, man? I was gonna actually drop some bars because we were talking earlier. They all have bars. They both have bars, but I'm not. I'm gonna save that till later, so that way.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Say the best to last. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, and obviously a big thanks, Steve, for having us on. We do really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, as Anthony was saying, we've been doing this for about 2 years. Me and him have basically grown up together, but obviously we also entered the world of business and podcasting together, which has been really nice. And yeah, like we kind of went in just because podcasting really piqued our interest, and it's something that was kind of soaring in popularity at the time, which was actually as we went into lockdown, so it kind of makes sense. And then we, came for the interest and just stayed for the amazing community and connections that we've made, really. And it's really reassuring to know that kind of what we're doing, the books we made, and the content that we provide and stuff has really helped people. Yeah, and of course it's just great connecting with like-minded people. So yeah, that's a bit about us. I'm not sure if Anthony mentioned it, but our pen name is Daniel Larson. A little bit confusing sometimes because obviously Daniel Larson is actually two people, but we rock with it.
That was one of my questions. That was one of my questions. Like, okay, hold on for a second. I was gonna like, who's this Daniel Larson guy? I'm like, because of course I had to pick up my copy. If you guys haven't
Shout
picked it
out.
up, make sure you go ahead and pick up your copy of why 75% of podcasts fail. As I was going through the book, I found a lot of myself in this book, and I think a lot of podcasters will find a lot of themselves in this book. Could you talk a little bit about kind of your journey, your publishing journey first, and we'll get into some of the kind of mistakes and different things along that line. But because we want to talk a little bit about also how podcasters can potentially turn their episodes into books and other type of things like that. But I do want to talk a little bit about kind of both of your publishing journey and how did you guys actually start this process?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a good question. So, I mean, as I said, we kind of at the start of the whole pandemic and stuff, we basically decided to get into publishing together. And well, as I mentioned, we kind of decided on podcasting because I mean, we'd both listened to podcasts before. It was of interest, but what really interested us was how much it was blowing up, and that in itself really interested us to find out like what the big deal was about. So we kind of just immersed ourselves in the community, and as I said, like just literally my favorite community ever. So friendly, so loving. I've made so many true lifelong friends from it.
mm,
So yeah, and we started off like bright and fresh face with our first couple of books, and our first two, so Podcaster Made Simple, and our other one, which we don't like to talk about, Every Podcaster's Biggest Hurdles. That in itself, doing that was a big lesson to us that can be taken also into podcasting, and it's
massive.
actionable steps from podcasters. Because what we realized in the process of doing that is that you can guess at what people like, but you have to you can't try and do too many things at once. You have to do one thing and do it really well. And that's how you can really captivate people. And that's what our Podcaster Made Simple book did. I wish I had the hard copies with me. they're up by the house. That'd be really useful right now. But yeah, so Podcaster Made Simple, all about how to start a podcast. That did really well because again, it was addressed to people starting a podcast. It was helping them go from A to B, not having a podcast to having one, and a functional, good one. Every Podcaster's Biggest Hurdles, on the other hand, did terribly. And looking back on it, we at the time we didn't know why, but it's really obvious now. We're trying to solve so many different things with one book. So we were, and these were things that we thought people wanted because after our first week or so of talking to people in the podcasting community, we thought we knew, but it wasn't a very good guess. So it was stuff like imposter syndrome about podcasting, paralysis by analysis, that kind of thing, and a bunch of other problems. Like there was literally like 2 per chapter or something. It was something mad. And like like you might have experienced 1 or 2 at some point, Steve. Like you probably haven't, to be fair, because they're not even that common. But you might have come across some, but no one's come across all of them, and no podcaster is dealing with even a majority or all of them at once. So that book was just so irrelevant to podcasters because there would be like at best a few pages that were relevant to them, and the whole thing was just dead. So that taught us a really important lesson to start with, in terms of just kind of sticking to one thing, and just knowing what people want and giving that to them, and thinking of it in terms of you want your whole product to apply to one person. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I totally agree. And I mean that goes along with one of our main teachings now, where it's like, if you're trying to grow your podcast, same with if you're trying to grow anything for the most part, a product. So I see the podcast as a product. Same with a book, it's kind of a product that you're trying to sell, trying to market, trying to grow, trying to reach a wide audience. We fell into the trap of going way too broad and thinking, this book's for everyone. This is going to be amazing. I remember we were so excited. We were like, we thought to ourselves, there's no book in the, there's no other book like this out there. This means it's going to blow up because everyone's going to want it. And I remember literally, like Taig said, when we published it, we were expecting every podcaster's biggest hurdles to be the one that blows up and does really well.
Right.
And I remember like after the first month, I think maybe like something like $70. Like that's basically like, 15 sales in a month, which isn't really that good. Then after that, it completely died and flatlined. And that, like you said, it taught us a massive, massive lesson of the importance of actually niching down and then, creating a product serving a particular group of people, not just everyone, because it never works. And we've seen it time and time again, like time and time and time and time again. So yeah, it was a big learning curve for us.
Excellent, man. Well, before we move forward, let's go ahead and make sure that we acknowledge, a couple of people who have been out here. Mr. Jim Nixon. Hi, chaps. You okay? I guess they're okay.
We're doing great, guys.
Taig,
Big up, Jim.
I just learned right before we came on, Jim, the Taig's a Man U fan, and I'm a little bummed about that because I thought he was a good dude, and he may not be on the live stream too much longer, but no, he won't be. And
yeah, Jim's actually an Aston Villa fan, I believe. I think he is. Anyway.
God bless you.
Yeah, I think that's
oh my gosh, God, all righty, man, that's awesome. All right, and then Jim again. I just meant the live platform that you are using for this live, as it looks good. Awesome. I would definitely put that in all of this in the links. Everything that they've been the books that they're going to be talking about, the whole 9 yards, will actually definitely be in the links after this show as well too. A great read. Get a copy. Thank you. It is. I'm taking him like it's my book. But all right, Podcast Principal says, "What's up?"
That's Ryan with us. Wagwan, Ryan, how are you, my guy?
Yeah, Ryan, how you doing,
this could be
Ryan's still in here.
Yeah,
Thanks for page
like
69. You know what? Just for that, we're gonna look at page 69 to see what kind of if Ryan is dropping some knowledge or not, or if it's just fluff. I'm going now. And it's just, he said, you put yourself on the spot, Ryan. I'm going to do that now. Podcast Principles. I know you put me out there because I would think it's funny. That's right. That's up the Villa. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. All right, so one of the things that you talked about with your broader book, the book that kind of sort of flatlined, if you will. You talked a little bit about your inability when you were looking at this book. You were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. Everybody and their mom is going to love it. And I think podcasters do the same thing, right? When we start to think about what we want to talk about, what we want to do, we start to think about, oh my gosh, everybody wants to talk about it. I did the same thing when I first started, before I moved into retail leadership with Steve Worthy. I had and I laugh every time I'm about to say it, because my first podcast was named The Worthy Podcast, because I'm super original and I'm creative. Like, that's so uncreative. And it talked about leadership and coaching, and it was massively broad. While I loved the concept of what I was talking about, the content was great. However, the audience was wrong. And then once I finally kind of niched down, man, I got so much more clarity. How can you help, or how have you helped, podcasters understand the importance of, that clarity and that niching down effect? Because a lot of them will fight it to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, like a way for us to really like an analogy or an example that I like to use really is to think about, say you've got your podcast and it's to do with like, self-development, including fitness, meditation, holistic healing, and you're covering all these topics and interviewing all these different people. If you imagine you launch your show and then the first episode starts with a bang and it's talking about, let's say, meditation, everyone who's into meditation goes to that because they like the content and they love it. They're like, oh, this is awesome, this is amazing. And they listen to it, they get something out of it, and they're like, oh my God, I wonder what more this podcast has, about meditation. They look through and the next one's talking about veganism. Well, for them, they don't care about veganism, but they love meditation. And just instantly you've lost that potential listener because you're not tailoring your content to that person, because you haven't niched down to really think, how can I serve this one target avatar, so your listener that you have in your head, the best that I possibly can. In contrast, if you had like, a podcast that was really niche, it had its purpose, it had that clarity. And your first one was, meditation for beginners. The next one was, breathing exercises just to help you reduce anxiety. The next one was you interviewing someone who beat depression through meditation or a specific kind of meditation. You're able to really like funnel people in through your content, and they're able to consume everything because it's for them. And it's like, holy crap, this is like, they feel like they've hit the jackpot because, again, it's niche, it's speaking to them, to their problems, to their needs, to their wants. And I think that's the best way to really describe it. And I've worked with a lot of podcasters, and we sometimes look at their numbers and see how they fluctuate. And you'll see a lot of the times that the people's numbers go crazy, and sometimes it might be because of promotion or
Hmm.
a guest, but a lot of the times is because the content just vary. So people who are actually looking for this podcast or particular episode will vary as well, and you're not able to actually retain your recurring listener month by month because each month your podcast is essentially changing. So that's why you get all this fluctuation and all those crazy things happening. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, but I believe that that's the best way to really describe what is really important to niche down.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I also think a lot of people will, when they hear the word niche, I think they also think slow
Mm,
growth, because they think that, oh my gosh, it's going to take so long for me to try to find my tribe. It actually is the opposite. I'm sorry, I'm already answered the question.
mm,
Um, but they also think like, oh my gosh, if I niche down, I am not going to be able to grow, meaning that I'm not going to be able to hit a large number of people. And I think that's the tendency sometimes, is that they think about, well, if I niche down, I'm not going to be able to, grow as quickly as I can. But what you guys are saying, and Taig, you can hop in here if you want to. What you guys are saying, when you niche down, you also kind of accelerate.
Yeah, I mean, you've pretty much hit it on the head. It's like people, there's common misconception that there's that you would get scarcity if you're going for a specific angle or like a small, what seems like a small portion of the market. But people, that's because no one actually can really fathom how many people that actually are listening to podcasts. And there's like literally like hundreds of millions, I think. Like I need to check that, but I'm pretty sure it's over that. And we're talking just in like English speaking countries there. So it's like, even if your show is like playing, I don't know, like origami for teens or something that completely niche like that, like there's still going to be like thousands upon thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of people into that. So it's like, and of course you hyper target them by then making everything about them. So when you do get those people, as Anthony was saying before, the next episode is going to be relevant to them, the next stuff after, and the content that you're providing outside of your show, if you're doing that, it's going to keep reeling them in. And then kind of once they're in, they're just going to stick, because it's like the show is absolutely made for them. And yeah, like kind of like you were saying, that's just a much more effective way of doing it than
Excellent.
throwing a really wide net and not really catching anything.
All right, man. This book, man. Why 75% of podcasts fail and how they can avoid it. Right. I mean, like I said, I'm actually excited to be talking to you guys right now, because if people actually follow some of the content inside of it, man, their podcasts are going to accelerate. Tell me why, or tell me how you guys came up with, not just the 75%, but because I think when you think about your book, the book, of course, is to try to help people to, move forward. I think a lot, I hope people aren't taking the 75% as this, like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't get into it. I guess my first question would be, and this is probably, you guys were probably both trying to want to jump at this one. Is it too late to get into podcasting? Because there's this thought out there that it's too late for people to actually start a podcast. And if I start a podcast, guess what? I'm going to fail. What are your thoughts about that? I'll let
Well,
Taig
that's
start. I'll
it's
let
like
Taig start first.
yeah, I mean we can trade off quickly, Anthony. But it's like that quote, isn't it? I don't know who said it. I don't know what it was originally about, but it was like the best time to, we'll use podcasting. The best time to start a podcast was 10 years ago.
Mm.
The second best time is now. Like, yeah, no, it's maybe you didn't pick the exact perfect time to jump in when it was a completely maybe you could have jumped in when there was no podcast like yours, but that's who cares about that? The best time to go in is now. And that was the big sticking point from the book that a lot of people kept saying, was how like they kind of wish they started sooner, and they were kind of advising people, if you're on the fence, just jump in now. Because I think a reason people worry about put off not starting, even more than thinking that, it's like it's grown too much and they're too late, is because they worry about having like the perfect equipment or like the perfect voice, and just all the stuff that comes with it. But it's like progress is better than perfection, really. And sorry, yeah, it sounded like you're gonna say something there.
No,
Yeah,
dude, no,
it's
I'm agreeing
better
with you,
to,
man. I'm agreeing with you, man,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's
It's
awesome.
like yeah, and it's different to something like music, for example. Like if you're putting out music, it's kind of got to really reel people in, and for people to want to listen, especially with people's attention spans. You can just skip a song and pick anything else in the world in like 10 seconds. Like it's got to be perfect. It's got to be really professional, really, really tight, really musically interesting, and everything like that off the bat, even if it's your first song. But with a podcast, it's like people aren't coming for perfection. They're coming for a good conversation and actual valuable and interesting content. So if you can provide that, it doesn't matter if you're in your first episode, you spend a little bit too long talking about your birthday, or the audio quality isn't, if you've got a Blue Yeti, for example, and it's not sorry, I had to. It's not it's not it's not as if it's not tip top quality, like, as long as it's good, like you're going to improve, and you're still going to make fans, and you're still going to get people wanting to listen to you again. And people won't just skip a podcast in 10 seconds unless they're like some mad buzzing or something. But hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, I don't know where I was going there. That was kind of it.
You
What do
got
you think,
you got
Anthony?
the Blue Yeti threw you off.
It really did, yeah.
You were going.
But yeah, I mean,
You were progressing, man. You were crushing it. And then you said the word
I was
Blue
really going
Yeti.
deep there. Yeah,
This was
yeah. But I mean, to summarize, like, progress is better than perfection, and it's definitely not too late to get into podcasting. But you shouldn't leave it a second later if you are wanting to start, because literally, what reason is there to leave it? As we said, there's no point aiming for perfection or waiting for the certain moment, because like you could argue that moment will never happen, because you'll always discover new things along the way that will improve you. So,
excellent.
but yeah,
Excellent.
over to Anthony anyway.
Excellent. So Anthony, how does, because we're just talking about podcasting, right? Talking about people who may be thinking about possibly kind of podcasting, or kind of currently into it, or people who feel like they have waited too long to actually jump into podcasting, right? And we just heard that it's not too late. But however, for those of us, or those who are actually currently in it right now, right, and you guys wrote about this in your book, what are a couple of things that people are doing that are currently in podcasting that will cause them to fail, that we can talk to those who are thinking about podcasting before they even get started, and kind of help them kind of identify some of those issues? Just a couple of them, and then we can probably hit a couple of them, and then kind of go through each one if you want.
Awesome. Well, I mean, the first one we already spoke about really is the whole idea of like going way too broad and thinking your podcast is for everyone, and everyone and their dog and their grandma is going to love your show. It doesn't tend to happen. We fell into the same trap with our own product, thinking that, everyone's going to love this book and all this and that. And, we were blinded by that. And obviously the results show. We spent several months, so much time, so much energy, so much money invested into this book, and then it didn't do well. And, we see a lot of podcasts out there that have had their show for, like, let's say, 2-3 years, 4 years sometimes, and they're not necessarily where they could be if they were to just niche down and be a bit more specific. And I'm sure we've all seen some places where people have done shows for like 4 years, and their audience still isn't to the size that they want, and then they're there wondering, why is this happening? And a lot of the time, just because everything just all over the place, you're not really tailoring your podcast for you. Now, if you're someone who wants to grow, you really should think about niching down. If you don't care about that, which I find, if you don't care about growing your show and growing your audience, which I do find hard to believe, then ignore that. Put this book in the bin, burn it. I'm throwing out your back door. But if you do want to grow, then really think about being specific and niching down. Again, we've covered that, so that was the first one out of the way, sort of thing. So I'll let Taig take the next one.
Yeah, so the next one is well, the next one is kind of, we noted these down before. The next one is literally the one I just said about kind of just start and don't wait for a perfect moment. So I won't go into too much detail on that. Another thing is, and obviously this depends on people's budget, but a really recurring theme throughout the book is how people wish they just didn't feel like they had to do all the bit, because obviously, you know, there's a lot of moving parts of podcasting. You've got, you know, the editing, the content creation, and all that jazz that happens, as well as the actual, you know, talking into mic, recording and creating content that you would first assume. But you don't have to do all of that, because outsourcing is a beautiful thing. And there was loads of podcasters saying about, you know, really good experiences they've had, taking the dirty work off their hands, not having to worry about editing anymore, freeing up loads of their time to focus on the things that really matter and they really enjoy the most, which is obviously creating valuable content, and just engaging with their listeners and audience. So yeah, that was a big point. So, you know, you don't have to do everything yourself, and you can move things around to make the most free time, but the things that you enjoy and the things that you're best at, so you can move the needle the most.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because when I first started podcasting, I started out, and we're gonna be doing this thing in the Podcasters Live community where we're gonna be getting everybody's kind of like podcast setup, like whether it was from the beginning and like kind of where they are right now. And I remember my very first setup, I had my iPad that I still have right here, and I had a Rode into USB, and I recorded directly from that into Audacity. And then I don't know why I thought I was, you know, Superman, and I started editing, you know, it in Audacity. I was like, okay, I can do all of this stuff, man. This is cool. I got this. And because I know how I want to sound. Listen to me, dude. I had no clue what I wanted to sound like, you know, or how I wanted my podcast to sound, because I was still kind of growing and kind of getting into it. And so I think your point is extremely well taken, is that I think a lot of times, especially when you're starting out, you are trying to do too much. I want to ask this question though, because there is a cost. When I say cost, I mean actual dollars associated with podcasting. And I'm not sure. I didn't get too deep into the book totally yet, but maybe you guys may have some anecdotal thoughts around this. I'm not sure a lot of people, I don't think they assess the cost, that's the financial cost that's associated with it. Have you kind of come across that in your coaching and in your conversation with people who either started or want to start, and they're like, dude, okay, I didn't know it was going to cost me this much?
So to be totally honest, I think that conversation only really comes up when we like talk about these things of outsourcing, and we recommend people to do that. Then that objection comes up where people are like, well, I haven't got enough to invest into the podcast, and that comes up here and there. But in all honesty, like more often than not, most people are actually outsourcing a lot more than what I thought. Like from my coaching and from my communication, a lot of people are happy to invest in their podcasts because they're just mad passionate about it. I think if someone's in a position where they don't feel like they're financially able to invest more in their podcast, that's obviously, again, that's totally fine. Maybe just have a little keynote in your mind somewhere saying, okay, you know what, I want to improve my mic, okay, or I want to start outsourcing some editing, even if there's 1 or 2 episodes per month if you're doing like 4. And just having that little subconscious thing in your mind, you just find yourself, putting some money aside for that, but just actually having that gap there, not just thinking it's impossible for me to invest more in, because realistically it's not impossible. You can probably just move things around if you need be. And again, these things, it's not like consciously saying, okay, I'm going to budget this money out and then budget it. It just have it in your head, and you just start acting a bit different and be like, okay, how about I don't do this and that could go into this. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh no,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
no,
And just
100%.
to
Go ahead.
just to add to that, something that obviously technology is getting like better technology and more advanced technology is becoming more affordable all the time. So I'm sure, like, because obviously we've only been in this for a couple of years, I'm sure when podcasting was starting to blow, 5 years ago or so, that would have been a lot more relevant.
Yeah.
But and someone said in the book about software called Descript. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yep. 100%.
We checked it out. We only came across it like a few weeks before,
Oh.
actually reading the answer. But yeah, unreal. I think it's like, for anyone that doesn't have the budget, you can still do some pretty crazy stuff. So you can, like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but you can even just bypass having a mic for a little while, because if it's got a feature where you can just record your computer mic or like your phone mic or something, and just turn it into crisp quality, and you can go from, I'm not going to make the same joke, you can go from poor audio quality to like Manu, yours, Steve, in like 10 seconds using Descript. So so it's which is just crazy, to be honest. So it's like, I think, things are becoming more affordable for people as well, which really helps.
Yeah, no, the script is crazy. I came across it probably almost like when I started podcasting, because I think there's other side, and we want to talk about this one too. Maybe this is something that I know you guys probably want to address, is that whole perfectionism, if you will, about your podcast. And everybody and their mama wants to take out all the ums and all the ahs, and they want it to sound like, like it's, James Cridlin, or NPR. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. They have teams. They have teams. They actually have production quality. I mean, studios. One of my favorite podcasts, 20,000 Hertz, Dallas. I think I can't remember the name is Dallas. But it is, his sound quality is amazing. But he has like a team of 5 or 6 different people, and so we start to think about sound quality, the script, and everybody kind of taking out their ums. What are your thoughts on, people are, they want their podcast to be kind of too perfect, because that's almost a paralysis of analysis aspect that you guys have talked about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think okay. Well, I think it just goes back a little bit to what we're saying about, like, it's different to something like music, where if it's actually a bit of a distraction, it's an interruption if you hear a mistake. But like, we obviously spent our whole days and lives conversing. Everyone stutters, like I'm sure I have done since we've been on. I pretty much just did just then. Like, everyone says ums and ahs, and no one talks perfect sentences all the time. So when people tune into podcasts to listen to people having conversations, they're not looking for that at all. Like, people just bypass it, and they just don't even register even like a long or ah. But of course, like, it's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? And like, just like most podcasters, I know I certainly did, most people have to get used to the sound of their own voice and don't like it at the start, even though it's just normal to everyone else. You're obviously your own biggest critic, aren't you? So I understand why it happens. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's been talked about in our community quite a lot recently, and I think people are maybe growing a bit wiser to the fact that, like, yeah, ums and ahs really don't actually negatively affect listeners' experience, unless they're like ridiculous. But yeah, what were you going to say, Anthony?
No, I was just going to say I completely agree with that, and I think piggybacking off the conversation about outsourcing. If you are outsourcing, it's not going to consume a lot more of your time, so you can get someone to do like a very decent job, better than you could, and I feel like it's much easier to have someone else do the work, edit for you, makes it sound crisp, clear, remove all the ums, so it's not time consuming for your end, and then you get the final product. And I feel like you're going to be less critical of it because someone else has done it, in rather than like you going through the editing process yourself, removing all the ums, trying to tweak little things, and then re-listening to it. It's almost like I've read this thing where if you make a sandwich for yourself, it tastes less flavorful than someone who made it for you. Than if someone was to make it for you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like you're going to be very, just because your brain's just almost like playing things over, like that kind of vibe. So you get very critical, and it's like listening to the same tune over and over and over and over again. You're going to just sit there and just find little different picky things. But if you outsource it, then you have less of a problem. Obviously, like you might be a Karen, or you might be a really have a lot of really shit editor, pardon my language. But if that's the case, then get a new editor and find one that you can work with long term to sort that sort of stuff out. But I only think it's an issue when removing all the ums and mistakes doesn't sound natural, because I've actually listened to a few podcasts where it's just like sounds cut, and it's like I can tell it's been edited, and I don't really like that. It doesn't flow very well, and it's like they start halfway through a sentence, or things just don't really quite sound right. So really think about that, because that does affect your listener experience. So basically, by you overanalyzing and being too critical, that actually does the opposite of what you're trying to achieve, by giving you giving your listeners a worse experience. So I think that's an important thing to point on.
That's a really good point.
That's a great point. Plus, the burgers do always taste better outside of the house at a restaurant than when I cook them. So your point is extremely well taken, and I'm gonna use that one, and I'm not gonna give you any credit for it when I talk to somebody in the future.
Oh, there's go. I'm gonna have to put a trademark on it.
Trademark. I'm so joking, but it's 100% true, right? But it wasn't until I just used myself as from my experience was because when I found an editor that I can send my podcast to, and he had edited over, at least that's what they said, right? And just based on the feedback and things that I've actually did some research on, he at that point had edited like over 3,500 some odd different podcasts, right? Episodes, crazy number. I know there's people that have done edited more than that, but he had already had the experience, and we had a dialogue, we had a conversation. We asked about, hey, what do you want this to sound like? How do you want this to flow? And guess what? Like my first month was completely different than month 5 and 6 with how I was like, okay, because I'm listening to tons and tons of podcasts, and I'm like, oh, I like that little piece there, but I want to make it mine, and I put that into the editing process. And guess what? Now the evolution of your podcast starts to kind of take a different shape than what it was at the very beginning. I love what you guys are talking about, as it relates to the ums and ahs, because of course, we are here and we're talking about Podcasters Live. We're talking about really podcasters who trying to help them understand the importance of live streaming and how they can actually grow their audience and making sure that they can actually enhance their brand. The one cool thing, not the one, but there's so many things I love about live streaming for me that I had to get over, very similar with my podcast, are mistakes. This is live. So if somebody's camera cuts out, my audio cuts out, it is what it is. And sometimes when people can appreciate that, they can understand, especially people that go live. They're like, dude, okay, it's happened to me 10 million times, right? And so that's what we're trying to marry, that idea of that imperfect, if you will, audio podcast, to bring in it live stream so that people can actually understand how to actually grow their audience. But more importantly, they can put a face to what they're listening to, week in and week out as well too. So anyway, let's go ahead. We got a couple people still saying Jim stuck around, the Villa guy. He's still stuck around. So it's so important to niche and know your avatar listener as well. I think this goes back to our earlier conversation around how many different podcasts are actually out there. He's talking about looking at how many blogs, there are. And I think, and I think you guys touched upon that idea earlier. Podcasting has a lot more growth as well. So we go back and we talk about your book. Man, what's like one or two things that you want people to really kind of get out of your book and kind of take away? And the one thing is, and maybe I can help you with this. I'll answer the question. Here's the one cool thing I like about your book is that I can start anywhere. And I don't know if you guys meant for that to happen, right? It's not like, it's not like your typical read. I started, I think it was page 79, on 79, no, 80, right, with Danny, and because I had it dog-eared, but I flipped and I was like, oh, okay. Did you guys intentionally do that? Because I think that's kind of the cool part about your book, and you can kind of think about this, like you can look at it on the plane, you can think about like one Saturday morning, you're drinking a cup of coffee, you don't actually have to read the book straight through. What were your thoughts in that context of the book?
Yeah, man.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, man. We planned. We sat, had a nice cup of coffee, went to Starbucks, had a nice cup of coffee together, and spent the last hour and a half just planning all that out, choreographing it, and just thinking, this is gonna be sick. And yeah, we came up with the master plan of of having it to be to be something where it just comes out like you could flip to any page and you could read it, consume it. So we'll take credit for that as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So basically, you didn't have any. No,
No, but it turned out great. It turned out great, and that's what matters. So no, it wasn't intentional. Obviously, we kind of knew that was going to turn out that way subconsciously, but it wasn't like a thing that we're like, okay, this is how we're gonna rock and roll. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the main reason for the book was again more of a really fun way to get the community together and produce a book that can really honestly accelerate the process for a complete beginner or even people who've been podcasting for quite a while, because again there's the collective experience of 100 podcasters and all the mistakes that they've made, all the hurdles they faced, and how you can actually overcome those. So that was my main objective. But yeah, it's turned out great in terms of the formatting.
It's turned out brilliant, and yeah, like, so I mean, we didn't, obviously, as Anthony said, like, we didn't exactly mean it to be like that, but obviously we knew it kind of would be like that because it's just an individual person's opinion, and it's not like it forms one big story. It's just like, well, I mean, I don't know. You could argue it actually does form one big story together, but it's like, yeah, you know, it's not linear. It's just completely different people's
Yeah.
experiences. And like, I didn't really jumble the order or anything, to be honest with you. It really does just feature just in the order that people submitted responses, like, pretty much. But yeah, we also wanted to do something like this because obviously, you know, this is our fourth book, excluding a bundle, and we've realised that not all podcasters are that big readers. And obviously, we make books about podcasting for podcasters to read. So, so we wanted to do something that was like, you know, a bit more bite-sized, and people can just kind of, you know, just dive into and just come out and just you know, step in and step out of it with ease, rather than something too heavy. You know, the last book we did before was podcast marketing, and that was like about 55,000 words or something. It's like almost a 300-page book, and you know, that's obviously it's very good, but you know, it's a heavy hitter. You know, it's not. Can't just read it in an afternoon or anything. So we did want to make something that was like, you just, bite size, I think is the word.
Yeah, well, I'll buck your trend because I'm a massive reader, man, and you know, I'm a little pissed because I'm not in this book, but I'm hoping to be in the next one. Just throwing that out there, just saying. So one of the things that I always want to talk about, because some people, I don't know whoever said this, whether it was an audio or I don't know whoever it was, they said somebody had the nerve to say that gear doesn't matter.
Steve, you are in the book, by the way.
Where?
You're number 78, so that would be. Let me find that.
Oh hell no!
Yeah,
no.
Serious, yeah. Because I was going to ask you about your reply as well. Like, we just haven't really got around to that yet. But
No,
yeah,
I didn't get to it. I didn't get to that part. No, dude, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, man.
Chapter 78 in the contents. That.
Oh, are you no? Oh.
Retail leadership with Steve Worthy. Man, you make a feature. Come on.
Hold up, man. No, see, this is live. This is why when you go live, I kid you not. I got the book the other day. I did not buy the book because I was in it, because I didn't know I was in it, and I didn't get there, and I didn't know.
Real love.
Yo, seriously, you are kidding? Okay, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, of course. No, but that actually shows real love. The fact that you were just down for that anyway. But yeah, you're absolutely in it.
Yo,
you make a feature, and I was going to ask you about your response as well, but obviously now you're reading your own response. So if you got anything to say on it, or you want to share it.
Oh man, yo, listen to me. I am blown away. I am blown away. I'm literally blown away, dude. Like seriously, like when we connected, when I came into your group, I was like, okay, I like these dudes. I like the energy. Like what they're talking about. And I don't know. I've been in retail and for a long time. And the one thing I know is people. And I can smell a phony, a fake a mile away. And I was just like, no, these dudes are good. Like these are some good dudes. I wanna vibe with these guys. And just everything you guys were putting out. And then you start talking about the book and all the questions. I was like, okay, I like where they're going. And then when I started Podcasters Live, I was like, okay, I got to have these dudes on here. And then the book came out, and so I was like, no, because I had another guest, Chip Baker, that I'm having on the show here shortly. I buy the books. I buy the books. I don't ask people to send them to me, because you're a creator, you're a business person, right? I'm a business person. For me, it's important that we support each other, and so I buy the books. Now there was an opportunity that I think I could have downloaded it for like 99 cents or something like that from Amazon. I was like, no, screw this. I'm gonna actually buy the book. So, dude, I am floored. I am literally floored. I had no clue. I was on this. Oh my gosh! Like I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry. I'm either about to cry or the Blue Yeti. The Blue Yeti is making me about to cry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a reflection on yourself, on how genuine as a person you are. The fact that, you know, you just said like, yeah, just support each other's businesses and stuff. Even you've been, you know, you brought us on the show and stuff, giving mad promotion to the book, and you didn't even think you were in it. But yeah, Yeah, man, you're in it. Read out your sponsor, let everyone know
Oh
what you have to say.
man, yo, dude, yo, man, this is crazy. What what do you wish you knew before starting podcasting? So two things. I wish I had taken the time to I can't believe I wrote this, man. To hype up the launch of the podcast. I should have dedicated about 4 to 6 weeks building up to its launch. I think I did about 10 days. That sucked. Storytelling. Learn this craft as a podcaster. It helps you set you apart from other podcasters. Yo, I completely agree with those. I mean, obviously I do because I wrote them, right? And that would kind of suck. I read them like, that's just stupid. Like, I don't even agree with those, but those are mine. So what's the biggest hack you've learned that you wish you could tell your younger? Oh yeah. Create outlines for multiple episodes, and batch record. I can't stress that enough. You'll sit. I was the one initially when I first started. Man, I would just do one episode. Like, oh my gosh, that's great. Oh my gosh, And then next thing I know, I'm scrambling to try to get the next one for the next week. And then once I started batch recording, man, it just kind of like it just transformed my life. So actually, like this morning, I did like 3 episodes. Super early. I was like, I'm just gonna do them and rock and roll. Yo, I'm blown away, dude. Man, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys even more, man.
Of
You
course,
know what?
man, of course.
I feel bad. I feel bad because I do want to talk a little bit about gear because someone said I was trying to get there. That you guys just blew my mind with this whole book thing. About someone said gear doesn't matter, but we're gonna talk about gear. Man, so if you guys haven't been listening, if you're listening to this live or you listen to this on a replay, we have been there's been a thread of an ongoing joke, right? The Taig and I have with Anthony. So one of the things, if you ever become a guest on the show, one of the things I will always ask you is what's your favorite piece of gear? Because you may have a lot, but what's your favorite piece of gear? We need to know, right? So, my man Taig, dude, stud, rock and roll, sure as some 7B. Love him. Got one of those puppies right there, man. He's great in my book. So then Anthony submits and he tells us what's his favorite piece of gear. What's your favorite piece of gear, Anthony?
What do you mean? What's my favorite piece of gear? What sort of question is that? What does that even mean?
What's your favorite piece of gear?
Probably these headphones. I really like these headphones. They're called Clan. Unbelievable headphones. Quality great. Noise cancellation. Really cheap. Durable. Had them for the last 2 years. Haven't broken yet. Not quite yet.
Nice. I
got the same headphones you copied, man.
Yeah. What are you speaking into that gives you that quality inside of those
crisp
awesome
sound?
Inside of those headphones?
The awesome audio. Let's say the drum roll. The Blue Yeti, right? You guys already know. I don't want none of this, all right? I've had enough. Listen up for Christmas. I'm putting on my wish list to get upgraded mic because I've had enough of this. I can't keep coming to these shows and keep getting roasted by all you guys. So,
all right, just for a disclaimer, folks. Just for a disclaimer, I am not a Blue Yeti hater. Maybe I am, but I apologize if you do have a Blue Yeti and you're listening to this, or you come on the show and you have a Blue Yeti. You are still welcome to come on the show. Anthony's not, but you are still welcome to come on this show if you do have a Blue Yeti. A lot of people have started with that mic, and it is what it is. And I'm just not a fan. And but it is what it is. So people say gear doesn't matter. All right, I know content, and I say this all the time, and I told people this, like, content is king, but audio is queen. And we know that women run stuff. So I honestly feel like audio is actually really cool, but that's why we're talking about gear. What are your thoughts around gear and how important it is for podcasters and, kind of their overall process as well?
So I think, obviously what we were saying some stuff before about, like, you don't have to have the perfect gear to start. And while I still stand by that, as I said, people come for the conversation as long as it's not a massive distraction because how bad it is. It's everyone starts somewhere, like Anthony with the Blue Yeti, and you can kind of move up. But of course, like just going back to what Anthony was saying about investing in your podcast, like
Yes.
if you're doing this long term and you're really trying to grow, you do really want to have the crispest quality, and you want people to you don't want it to just be people don't notice that it's bad. You want people to actually notice that it's good and actually really appreciate that's good, and it just builds on the experience. And we're not even just talking about mics either. Things like good quality headphones make a big difference for feedback and stuff like that. And obviously I said my favorite piece of gear is the SM7B, but I got to give a shout out to the Focusrite as well because that's changed my life. Because obviously you can't use an SM7B without a Focusrite. But I also plug my guitar in and play that a little bit into it, and it's absolutely like revolutionized the quality of how it sounds compared to what I had before, and I didn't realize it makes that big difference as like an interface. So yeah, like having a good interface is really important as well, I think.
That's good. No, I agree. Anthony, go ahead.
So I'm just going to say it now. I think, it's very, very, very important, to be fair. But not like, to the no, I say that, but it is important. If you're really trying to invest long term, you think about it as a long game. It is important, but don't let that stop you. You've got to start somewhere. Like these boys have said, you might be stuck with a Blue Yeti, come on a show, get roasted for about 2 hours, but you got to start somewhere, and it's more about like Taig said, it's more about the content. And over time, you can work your way up. So yeah, I mean, it is important. You really should be investing if you are, so-called podcaster. So that's my general thought on that.
Good, man.
Yeah,
Good.
what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, no. Listen to me. I started with the like I said, the Rode NT USB, and it was a great mic. However, it's a condenser mic, and it picks up like crazy sound. And so my place, my office here, studio, whatever you want to call it, wasn't treated at that point in time. And so I would have to get up. I love get up early anyway, but I had to get up early in the morning because, we have 3 girls. And so, I mean, they're all teenagers now, but I would have to get up super early because it's quiet. And I wanted to make sure that I recorded in a very quiet environment. And then I realized the importance of trying to treat your room, yada, yada, yada. I think one thing people can think about in the context of like gear and upgrading your gear, I set milestones, like that. You can do whatever you want to do, like episode milestones. So if you say an episode, I get through episode 20, which kind of helps you pass a little bit of that pod fade, timeline, which is 7 episodes or so. Get past 20 episodes. Hey, I'm going to upgrade my mic, or I get, an X number of downloads. I'm going to do that. So I did that with a lot of pieces of my gear, like my, the Rodecaster Pro, and I hit a certain number of downloads. I made the investment to get the Shure SM7B, and then Ty talked earlier about interfaces, right? Just to upgrade your interface. So I think you can do it in layers, and you don't have to actually go all out like a lot of people just go all out. And I've seen it, you've seen it. I mean, they go all out by like the Shure SM7B. They plug it in. They forget that they freaking need a cloud lifter, just because they see Joe Rogan and other people with the Shure SM7B, and they think that's what they need to do. For me, it wasn't even part of that journey. I was just like, man, I want my quality to sound good, but I want to make sure that I'm being financially, sound and stable while I actually do this as well too. So
yeah,
man. Well, fellas, hey, so we want to do this. I want to make sure that that's not the one I want. I want this one. This is it. I want to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to let you guys go here. I want to talk about your group here. Group is amazing, man. This group is amazing. He's still throwing me off with this whole Daniel Larson joint. Cause like, who's Daniel Larson? Why is he like, are they not old enough to have like a group, and now here's their like the guardian or something like that? Like, I was just making like, I'm making sure these guys old enough to actually have this group. No, I'm just messing with you. But walk me through Podcasters marketing made simple, because when I found it kind of changed a lot of different things that I was thinking about. And just walk me through a little bit about how this started and what you want people to get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, a big thing for us, in all honesty, like we said, when we first got into podcasting, we had a huge, huge, huge amount of support, and people were just so nice and friendly. And we thought, why did we need to create a community around what we stand for? And our main brand really is podcasting made simple. So our first book that really took off, which is a best-selling book, is called Podcasting Made Simple. And the whole idea is to simplify podcasting so people don't feel overwhelmed. And podcast marketing as a community to help and encourage podcasters, like we said there. If you scroll to the top there, Steve,
Hmm.
um, as we said at the top, we provide confused passenger and podcasters a clear marketing framework to consistently grow so they can stop guessing, save time, and start feeling confident. Because that's really important to us. We want, a lot of the times marketing seems like, oh, you have to be marketing savvy, you got to do all these promotions, I don't have to use social media. And we understand that most people, podcasters, are podcasters first. They're not marketers, they're not promoters, they're not editors, they're podcasters, and that's what they do. So it was really important for us to like almost bridge that gap and try to just show people that it doesn't have to be that complicated. And where when you hear all these advice about niching down, about working on SEO, about creating content and all that kind of stuff, there's a very simple and basic reason behind it. And if you follow some simple steps, you can just start feeling a lot more confident, a lot more clear. You can stop guessing, which is what so many shows do. They just guess and you just hope. And you ask them what's your strategy. They're like, oh, well, I haven't really got a strategy. Like, I'm posting this and doing that, and it's like, so yeah, that's the whole idea for this group, to bring together a community of passenger and podcasters, and to clarify just how to actually consistently grow your shows. That's a brief overview of it. Um, and yeah, again, it's a great place for us to connect with our audience. And it's a great way for us to constantly providing value outside of our books. Same way you have each episode of your podcast, we have each volume, you could call them, of our books, and we want to make sure we're constantly engaging, constantly learning from our audience. All the time. It's almost like this. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
We're getting something from them, and they're getting something from us, and that's what it's like. And yeah, it's been amazing. Honestly, it's been great.
Yeah, it's a great community, man.
Absolutely.
It's been
It's the best thing ever, man.
yeah.
Like, it's great. Seeing the same,
Seriously.
we have a very tight knit community where a lot of people know each other from the community. That's the best thing about it. Like, I've had so many people connect with themselves without even us being involved. Um, and it's great when you go in there and you constantly getting all, you see all the same sort of people, and then you get new faces that come in and join the party, and that's just an amazing, amazing, amazing thing, because it shows that we're growing, it shows that everyone's growing, and it shows that, like, we've really got something good and something special going on, and we want to differentiate, because a lot of communities, the admin won't really be too active.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
won't be posting frequently. They're not providing value. It's just there to have the group and then whatever. But we want to be involved with this, and that's where we're at currently. Taig, if you've got anything to say, just hop in, mate.
No, not really. I think you summed it up on the head. Really hit the nail on the head. Yeah, we just try and obviously provide value to help. Really, I guess to sum it up, it's like we want to provide passion-driven podcasters with all the tools and all the knowledge they need to go and hit 10,000 downloads. Because a lot of people see that as a scarily high amount, or maybe unattainable, unless you're like unless you've got a big budget, unless you're lucky in some way or something like that. But no, like, anyone can do it. And yeah, we just kind of a catalyst for that, I suppose. And yeah, we just try and be as active as possible, get people talking, and just kind of make friends. As Anthony was saying, like, it's a serious actual community. Like, everyone respects each other, everyone helps each other. It's not just us giving value by any means. It's like it's a complete conversation, and we love it when other people chime in with really valuable feedback, post comments and stuff like that. And yeah, and we don't do, like, a lot of the podcasting groups are quite spammy because everyone's just in it for themselves, and they're just like posting their own podcast with a link and stuff. Like, we don't do that because, like, it just doesn't benefit anyone, does it? So
No, and I think that's when I was in a group, and there are tons of, I mean, I don't know how many freaking podcast groups they're out there, tons, and you can go in there and you don't, here's the thing. I mean, because we didn't really talk about it, but we can save that one for another episode. Discoverability, right? Helping your podcast get discovered. And I think what happens is people will start a group, and people will just start to put their podcast. Just download another. I mean, just upload another episode. Just released a new episode. I get it. Believe me, I completely get it, right? Because you want people to hear your episode, and you want people to go there, and you want to get the downloads. But he's got gigantic nostrils. All right, somebody in there spamming me. All right, that's okay. I appreciate that, man. That's pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I'm actually gonna put it up there so they can see it. So I do. I really do, man. It's like they're called this is called the worthy nose. Like all of us, we all got this nose, and it is what it is. So I appreciate you.
Trademark that.
Ragnarok. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it's Ragnarok. I don't know. I'm going to say Ragnarok, whoever your name is. Whatever. This is what happens when you go live. And so, I think what happens is you start a group and people aren't actually, truly involved. And I think when I came into your group, I saw that you guys were 100% involved in the process and connected with people, but also the people that were actually putting things out there. They had not just their interest in mind, but everybody else's interest in mind. So I think that's a testament to you guys and everything that you guys have been doing with your group as well.
Appreciate that a lot, Steve.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. So where can everybody find you? Other than we just went through and looked at a little bit of your Facebook group, but where else can where can everybody else find you?
So it's funny you say that, because actually just today we finally got an Instagram at Podcasting Made Simple. So yeah, you can go and check us out on there. We'll be posting some slightly different stuff on there. And of course the flagship, we have numerous books on Amazon, more than one bestseller included, and you can just do that by just searching Daniel Larson on Amazon. In fact, we should have probably sent you the link. If I send you, can I comment? Can I put the link in or anything?
Yeah.
Or if I just send you the link after and you do it.
Yeah, you can do either way. You can do either way, and I can. Actually, you can do both ways if you want, because I want to make sure that I put all of that stuff there as well too.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can view the comments, but I can't actually add one.
Oh, you got to go into.
I got to go and guest chat and put it in there.
Yeah. You got to go in there and do that.
So I'll put the link in to which just kind of shows all of our books on Amazon. For anyone that's interested, go and check them out. And that's kind of our main thing, really. Have you got anything to add, Anthony? Did I miss anything?
This white dude got curly hair. Dope. Sorry, that was a comment.
I just deleted him out of there, man. That's all. It's all good. It's all good. I had another guy. I had a guy a couple of weeks ago jumping in saying it was actually pretty funny stuff. But some of them can get kind of crazy. I actually have been very fortunate. I haven't gotten any craziness going on. But go ahead, Anthony.
No, man. I mean, we started there loads. We stuck with the whole idea for just having one hub where you can find us, which is our community. Because again, we try to practice what we preach, really, in terms of keeping yourself focused, growing a community in one place first. So you're not going on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all this crazy stuff, but focusing really on dialing in on one place, on what platform, understanding it, learning it, growing your community, and then you can start moving on when you feel comfortable. But a lot of the things that we when we speak to podcasters and have clients is that they feel overwhelmed with constantly have to tune out content day in, day out, and you don't need to do that. If you just focus on one platform, you can actually get to understand it. You can have better communication with your audience. You can engage and interact and actually give them the time and give their response the time that they deserve. And that's how you really build those connections so much faster, because you're not distracted. You're just focused on them. And obviously now we're moving on to Instagram, because we are at the point where we've gone, we're very comfortable with how we're handling things. We're happy with the growth. We're happy with our community. And again, the Instagram has its own particular purpose. We're not just doing it just to, for that. It's not that at all. It's got its own purpose that we're trying to create a strategy around our own business. Because again, we are business owners, as well as, this is part of, we're in a publishing company, and part of that means us growing as a business, but growing when that time is right and when it's needed. Us starting this Instagram a year and a half ago, that would have been a distraction to our growth. It would have hindered our growth. So yeah, just a bit of background of why we've decided to obviously now move on, and why for whatever reason we already got our Facebook group.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, fellas, stay in the green room. I want to thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. The book is amazing. I know it's going to do extremely well for you guys because, one, I'm in it. No, I'm just joking. I just realized I was in it. But no, because I think the authenticity that's associated with it, right? And what you're trying to do is help people. And I think people who help people, give them something that they can hold on to and that can kind of improve their lives. But more importantly for us, what we're talking about to help improve their podcast journey, telling you what, it's going to bode well, not just for you, but for everybody that you're out there helping. And I truly appreciate you guys for coming on board, for coming onto Podcasters Live.
Cheers, my man. Honestly, it's been amazing speaking to you.
Seriously, a pleasure. Yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it.
Excellent, man. Excellent. So stay back there for me for a second. Wow. Oh man. So Steve and my big nostrils, from the comment. I'm just joking. You gotta embrace it all, man. I had such a pleasure talking to these gentlemen, and if you are interested in learning a little bit more, about podcasting made simple, we're gonna make sure that we actually have the links to that. Also, if you want to buy the book, why 75% of podcasts fail, we'll have a link for that as well. Definitely go in and buy the book, check it out. You can start the book anywhere you want. But the most important part is that when we often talk about it, Podcasters Live, is that, we want to learn together so that we can grow together, so that we can podcast together. More importantly, with Podcasters Live, our goal is to help you kind of a little bit understand your audience a little bit better through live streaming. And that way you can grow your brand. You can grow your brand. As podcasters, we are a community that we love to talk, but more importantly, I think all of us are competitive, and we want to make sure that all of us are actually in this to win. So thank you for attending, for being here for another great episode of Podcasters Live. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.